All right. Hey, everybody. I am Christina. So, I'm going to go over a quick presentation on how to securely interact with a large language model with your data. And this is probably one of the most commonly asked questions I get every time we have a client who wants to build or who wants to interact with AI into their custom application or maybe within their own operations. And that's just like the number one concern is what about our data? What about our data? Is it secured? So in this presentation, we'll cover those details. All right, perfect. So just a quick introduction about who I am, what we're about. I am Christina Beckford, and I am the founder of Afrix AI. We are a AI development agency. So we cater towards AI agencies or businesses that want to implement AI into their applications, and they may not have the bandwidth or they don't have the technical expertise to integrate AI into your current application, or you want to create a custom SaaS. So I have approximately about a decade of development experience and built multi-model AI custom solutions for various industries for the last 10 months. Successfully guided development teams to build secure applications that integrate with AI that provide businesses ROI via productivity or revenue boost. So feel free to contact me on this email. And then for Colin's the CTO. He's also my favorite guy. He is the best when it comes to AI integrations. So he specializes in context engineering, multi-agent large language model systems. He's a great orchestrator. He's wonderful. So if you guys want to learn more about us, you can check out our website here. All right, so here's our website. If you want to learn more about Affix AI, who do we serve, what problems that we have solved previously with our previous case studies. And yeah, feel free to check us out. And then if you're interested in working with us, book a call and we kind of just go from there. All right. So that's a little bit about Affix AI and what we do. All right. Let's go over the agenda, right? So the agenda here, we're going to focus on the security architecture of the large language model on your application, number one. Number two, we'll discuss the secret sauce, right? How does the secure transmission happen? How do we do it? So I'll go over the secret sauce with you. Number three, go over the official security policies for each large language model provider. And then, of course, what does this mean to you for the business integration with AI? And remember, this presentation is for non-technical folks who may not have a clear understanding on how data is being handled securely with the application and interacting with the large language model. So if you're like a non-technical person, this is a perfect presentation for you to sit through. All right. And please remember, technology changes rapidly. So please always verify current policies with providers directly. And this video is for educational purposes only and doesn't constitute any legal advice. I can only speak from a development expertise, and that's it. That's all I can do. So just want to keep that in mind. All right, so let's kick off with our presentation. The first one is the number one question I always asked, right? And I mentioned this before at the beginning of our conversation is if you're a business owner or you are a business or an agency that works with clients' data and they want to integrate AI into their products or their solution, the number one question that gets asked is it really safe to send business data to AI? The short answer is yes, absolutely, but when implemented correctly. And that's the key phrase. Yes, your data is safe as long as the development team that you're working with implements it correctly. And that's the key. And the purpose of the presentation is to show how major AI providers protect your data and maintain your level of confidentiality when it comes to your data. All right, so I don't know about you, I'm a visual person, so I like to use diagrams and visuals, but I do want to share with you the security architecture between the your application, the AI service, and then back to the application. So as you can follow along with me, so let's say you have an app, right? You have an app and the user interacts with the app and they input data, right? Now, this app could be internal, used for your internal use, or it could be a public facing app where you have multiple users using your app. But the point is, data is being shared, inputted into your app, right? Now, what the application does is that once we get the data within the application, now we have to create a communication bridge. And that bridge is encrypted. That's step number 3. So, step number 3 is the encrypted tunnel or bridge, where we establish a secure connection for data transmission. That's part of that preparation stage. Step 4 is once we have that encrypted tunnel or bridge set up, then the AI service will receive your encrypted data. So your data is encrypted. So we encrypt your data at the application level, send the data over to the AI service that you want to use. It could be Gemini, it could be OpenAI, whichever large language model that you want to use or provider. That service or provider will process the data and prepares a response. Now, going to step number 5 is once the AI is done processing your data, then it's going to send a encrypted response back to the application. And then, of course, once the data gets sent back to the application, the person that's interacting with the app gets the response. And the response is AI. It's an AI outputted generated response, and the data has been securely managed for every step of the way, from the time the input and from the time the data has been inputted, from the application, encrypting the data, sending the data over to the AI service. AI service outputs the data, and then the user still gets the wonderful experience of getting the output, but it's generated through AI. So this is a really powerful way we secure our AI data and execution. Now, your next question probably is hey, so when you create this communication tunnel, how do you securely access AI? How do you securely send the data over to AI? That's the secret sauce I'm gonna share with you next. The secret sauce is API keys. So for those who are non-techie, don't lose me now. I don't want you to jump off this call. The API keys, right? So the secret sauce. What is an API key? Think of an API key like a special ID card. So I when I go to my building, right? I'm gonna cover my information here. Everybody gets an ID card, right? Think of your application. Every application out there gets an API key if you want to interact with the large language model provider or service. So everybody gets assigned to an ID card. It's very unique to each application. So when you have an API key, it identifies your application to the AI service, and it's unique, just like my badge here. Ensures only you can access your account, and you're able to track the usage of the API key, the communication between the application and the large language model provider or AI service. And it keeps, here's the main thing, it keeps your data separate from everybody else's. That's the key thing. So think of it like a key card, an office building. You know, this key card allows me to access my office building, and then the building will know who enter in. So they know it's me specifically based off of this badge that I swipe in. That's an Imagine this your API key for the application. So when the large language model gets your API key, it knows securely like this is you. This is you coming in. This is you using their service and you only. Now, the key point I want for you to understand is that the AI or the large language model never talks directly to your customers or users of your application. Everything goes through your secure application first. So it's not like ChatGPT. So you know the product ChatGPT, right? Like you go on there, you log in, and then you interact with the prompt. It's not like that at all. When you are doing a business custom solution or custom application, the connection is secure because is not a public. It's not a public forum like ChatGPT is. It's when you have an API key, it ensures a secure communication channel between your application to the large language model provider. So that's the key point I want to make here at the bottom is that AI can never talk directly to your users or customers, I should say. Everything goes through your secure app first. So your app is the interface, your app will handle the encryption of the data, and that's how that special relationship works. Now, another big question I get asked a lot is if I send AI, let's say I send data to a large language model, is it used for training? The answer is no. When you use an API key, and this is API key access only, the data is never used for training and is usually associated with zero retention, meaning that the large language model do not store that information. They don't keep it in their server. So you have to look at each large language model provider policy, but a lot of them associate with zero retention of the data, which is great for your business, and you're still being in compliant of not storing any information somewhere else. So that is a great reassurance. So the analogy I like to use is once I get into my office building, right? If I want to use a conference room, right, I could badge in and use the conference room, right? And it's private. Whatever happens in that conference room stays in that conference room. So when I get out of the conference room, that's it. All the recordings, the meetings, whatever happens in the conference room stays within the conference room, and the next person that uses the conference room, they won't have access to the information that I discussed during that meeting because it's private. So think of it that way when it comes to your API keys and it interacts with a large language model provider, kind of like, for example, like OpenAI, Gemini, and etc. All data is encrypted during the transfer to the large language model. And remember that the large language model will only use encrypted data to process the data and then produce the desired output. Remember, it only uses encrypted data. And that's how you can ensure security from your application to the large language model. All right. And listen, like I mentioned before at the beginning of the call, always do your reading anytime you're using an AI service or a third-party service with your application. So, for example, OpenAI is the most common one. So as you go through each of these links, they do talk about the security policies for each large language model provider. So, for example, OpenAI, if you go on their link, they share their commitments and they talk about what happens with your data, the control, security, current FAQs. So I always recommend folks that if you're planning on if you're using like AI service or large language model provider, please, yes, your developers will tell you, yes, it's secure, but please take the time to read through the policies and have an understanding of what they're doing with your data. All right. So, and every single one of them make the promise is, and make sure you look for this keyword now. When you read through the policies, look for this keyword, API. When you have an API key, that's how you know you have a secure channel connection. Okay. So when you read through the policies, make sure you see this keyword. So with OpenAI, they promise we do not use data submitted via the API to train models. I think that's a really great statement that they made. We will not use your data to train any model. It is a private, secure connection and private interaction. Interflock, Claude did the same thing. We don't train API. You see the key word, API. So if you're a non-technical person and you're reading through the documentation, you need to see this keyword. We don't train on API inputs and outputs. That is reassuring and that's awesome. Google Gemini says the same thing. Your API, keyword again, API data remains your data. So as long as your developer or whoever is working with you to build the AI integration with your application make sure that that they're using API to interact with the large language model only. So as long as you're doing that, your data is secured. And like I said before, if you're going to use any of these providers in your application, make sure you have a solid understanding of their policies. And I will have the slides somewhere in the description. That way you can kind of review it and have access to the links. With Grok, this is still in beta, so I wouldn't use this just yet. It's still in beta, but I know it works really well with Grok 4. So here's the API documents, and they can share with you their policy on that. All right, shifting gears a little bit. Now, how does Afrix AI secure your data, right? Because I do want to share with you the best practices that our development team uses to ensure that we secure your data as we're building your application. Step one, and it's the number one rule. If you're working with a development team, and if you're not talking about this, you need to run. But I'm sure most of them do. Most of them do. So with Affix AI, one of our best practices is that we only interact with the large language model through API keys only. Only. We do not use any public tool out there. So if there's like an AI tool out there and it's public, we don't use it. If you want us to use a tool, we always want to make sure that there is an API key associated with that service or product. If there's no API key associated with that product or service, we will not use it. And that's how we can ensure our clients or anyone that we're working with that we can secure your data through the API keys. Number two, we utilize encrypted data to prep the data for data transmission to a large language model. So we utilize encrypted data, and we have a tool that we use to create the encrypted data within the application and all that to prep the transmission to the large language model. Number three, our clients are always in control on what data to send. So you tell us as a development vendor what data we are allowed to send to the large language model, and we will sit down and have that conversation and flesh it out. How do you want the user experience and the data workflow, how everything's going to come together? This will all happen during the planning stage, and this is where you can bring that information up. And of course, and the obvious one, we never send personal sensitive data to a large language model. That's a no-no. We'll never do that. That is a common sense assumption to us developers, that we never send personal sensitive data over to a large language model. But other than that, you tell us what specific data you want to send. Number four, we only use the large language model to perform specific tasks, right? So it's not like we're using a large language model to train it or anything crazy. We're only using a large language model to perform a specific task. And we utilize markdown files to create a system instructions on how we tell the large language model to process this data, right? So there's input, there's context, there's processing, and there's output. So we will actually share with you, this is actually number 5. We will actually share with you the markdown files, and you can see the system instructions that we're using to tell the large language model how to execute on that task. So there is full control on how we interact with the large language model, complete control. And we can set a guardrails. We can set so many parameters and rules. And once you set the guardrails, it's not going to hallucinate the data. It's not going to do anything crazy where it's hallucinating or doing anything crazy. But it all starts at the markdown files level, which is the system instructions. It all starts from the system instructions. So once we have that down pack in place, then we have a very controlled large language model interaction. So we do that. So number 5, we share the large language model's markdown files, and we tell it how to perform a specific task. And then of course, with full transparency, we'll share with you guys the files. Number 6, every 6 months, so every couple quarters or every 6 months usually, we'll rotate the API keys regularly. we'll do it regularly. We'll we'll sit with your team and we'll let you know, like, hey, what's the cadence on rotating these keys out. I think it's a really good practice. Number 7, there will always be logs of the data transaction. So we, as the development team, and also your team, whichever development team that you work with, there's always logs. So once you have an API key in place, you can actually keep track of every single transaction of requests and responses. And it's all documented and you can see it. When it comes to development side, the API keys are only stored on server-side code only. I think that's common sense, but that's common sense from a development standpoint. But make sure all the keys are stored server-side, and it's a server-side communication only, not front end. And of course, when we manage API keys, we make sure it's in a secure environment. Variables like how we handle the API keys and where we store them is not going to be publicly available or accessed. It'll be stored in a secure file that only you, the client, or whoever we're working with, and our team, and it's very secure. So those are the best practices that Affix AI development team that we practice on a regular basis when we develop applications and we interact with the large language models. All right. So what does this mean for your business, for your business data? So let's say you are a business and you work with other clients' data. And let's say you guys sign some form of NDA. So if you're working with a client and your client is like, hey, I want to use AI, I just want to make sure my data is secured. Great news. Hopefully you've been paying attention to this presentation, that you are still honoring the agreement of securing their data and protecting their data due to the usage of the API keys. So if you are not using API keys when you're interacting with a large language model, then you are breaking the agreement. But if you are using API keys to safely interact with the large language model, then yes, you are honoring the NDA agreement to ensure that the data is secure. Your own data is secure. Well, it's either your data or somebody else's data. It's always secure due to the usage of server-side code, API key security, and audit logs. So please, regardless if you work with my team or a different development team, whoever you work with, make sure they follow these best security practices, and you can feel reassured that your data is handled with confidentiality and securely. All right. And always remember, you're in control of the data. So at the end of the day, when you're working with a development team, either with myself or a different development vendor, just remember that you are in control. You're in control. So you decide what data to send. You control the access to the API keys. You own the data and the outputs. You maintain compliance with the industry standards. So just remember that. Always refer to the official large language model documentation if you need more explanations or definitions needed. So towards the end of the presentation here, so if you would like to work with Affix AI, we are a specialized development vendor that focuses on delivering AI integrations for custom applications, and we have done all types of AI solutions, from voice agents, automations, custom SaaS, plus AI automations and AI agents. So we've done a lot of cool stuff with AI solutions. We have one of the best and most talented developers on our team, and we've been working together for a really long time. We enjoy what we do. So feel free to reach out to us for any of your development needs. Other than that, I hope you enjoy this training. Hopefully this training provides you some level of reassurance that when you build an application and your application is interacting with AI, that all your data is handled securely. And hopefully when you make that decision as a business owner, or if you're the decision maker, that you feel more confident about interacting with large language models. Other than that, thank you so much for watching this video. Feel free to subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more about AI. I have a lot more educational content, updates about Affix AI. Again, my name is Christina Beckford. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can go to my website. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I think I put my email in the intro. Yep. Here's my email, my contact information. You want to email me if you have any questions, concerns, or any inquiries. Other than that, that's pretty much it, you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.